Thank you for coming to this Commissioner Town Hall / debate, hopefully to get a little bit more information about this important position. My name is Matt Geyer. I'm with Greater Lafayette Indivisible. I'll be the MC this evening, so I'll try to keep things moving along. We have an hour here. Try to respect the candidate's time, trying to respect your time as well. And if there's things that you want to ask that haven't got asked afterwards, I'm sure that the candidates, unless they have a prior engagement, will stick around and talk to you afterwards. So the way that this is going to work is we have a bunch of questions, or I have a bunch of questions right here. They're totally secret. And we are going to give each candidate a minute to answer them. We're going to be probably pretty strict on timing because we're trying to get under an hour, or right about an hour, and leave a little bit of time for questions from you all that we didn't ask. So we have, if you haven't done it, then we have a basket over there. If you please sign your name on there, we'll draw at random, so you know the fastest person doesn't get to run up to the mic and do that. So we're gonna draw at random until we run out of time at the end, and hopefully get all your questions answered. So also, minute for the candidates. I might give it a 30-minute follow-up if it's addressed directly from a candidate to another candidate.
30 minutes?
30 minutes, that's what I said. No, they get 30 minutes. So it's going to go way over an hour. And I will pass, we only have 2 mics, so I'm going to pass this around. Each question we'll do a round robin. So we'll start, first question here starts it, next question starts it, and vice versa, and they'll have to pass it around.
Boy, did I pick the wrong place.
Well, you know, everyone's going to have to start one question, so.
Okay.
I'm going to start with a little bit of introduction to what commissioners do, because I'm not sure if everybody knows that, because you know there's so many positions in government, and this one happens to be pretty important. So commissioners serve as the executive and legislative body of the county government. They execute contracts, authorize payments of claims. They appoint people to various departments and committees. They also create and enforce ordinances in the county. They wield a lot of power, and it's pretty important. So they have a wide breadth about what they actually do. So the fact that you know there's so many people running makes sense. We want to make sure we get the best person for the job. So with that, I'm going to start. We give everybody an introduction for about a minute. So we're going to keep going through there. Let me turn that mic on, and we'll start it out.
All right, I'm Andrea Berniski. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so I've been here about 14 years. We both, my husband and I, came here to work at Purdue. When I was in the state of Oregon, I worked in the legislature for a legislative session and helped my boss, who was the House Minority Leader. In those days, Minority Leader was a Democrat, pass the only bill, the Clean River Act, that the Democrats were able to put through that term. I worked for 16 years overseas in international development projects, running USAID, European Union, what are the other donors? Various government, State Department and other government projects. I both wrote the proposals and ran the programs and then monitored them and worked with, most of the time I was head of my office as well. Came here, worked at Purdue for 8 years, starting out in agriculture, Department of Agriculture, doing international programs in ag, getting grants and running programs there, but also working in ag extension with small farmers especially, and also working with emergency training, the Extension Disaster Education Network and diversity commissions. And I worked with global engineering, brought in a $70 million project for global engineering for partnerships between all the Indiana major universities, Notre Dame, IU, and Purdue, and running grants between faculty and their partners overseas to solve wicked problems. And during the COVID year, I took time off to leave, actually, because I'll talk to you about that later. It was a Mike Pence involved project. And after that, I got another master's degree in education and was a teacher for 3 years. Have a husband and 2 daughters.
All right. So that was over a minute, so we're going to give everybody the same amount of time.
Sorry.
And I should mention there's a timer right here, so you're going to get 10 seconds, 5
I'm sorry,
seconds
I
for
will
every
look
question.
at you next time.
I took a totally different tack for the summary, so here we go. Hi, my name is Justin Kendall. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the co-owner of Second Light Books and Main Street Books in Lafayette. The last 11 years I spent as the call center architect for the Illinois State Central IT Agency. And I'm focusing on three big things in this election. The first of which is the county is completely mismanaging its use of technology. This is spread out over all areas of county government between gigantic wastes of money in the budget that will no longer be present after SB 1 to lost productivity of the staff throughout the county, and all the way to people being able to get transparency and accountability, getting information out of county government. Second issue, emergency ambulance services are not showing up in an appropriate amount of time today. The current commissioners have created a monopoly that is allowing this to continue to happen, and we need to find other models for delivering these services that are critical for people. And third, the last issue, sort of tangential to all this, is county government, at least the commissioners, do not care about your experience as a resident of this county and interacting with it. And I think that needs to change so that people can know what their government is doing and get involved in the process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't disagree with any of that. My name's A.R. Lane. I'm obviously running for county commissioner. I'm a veteran. I'm a small business owner. I'm born and raised right here in Tippecanoe County. I graduated from Harrison, Hershey, East Tip, Harrison. I played sports throughout school. I joined the Army right afterwards. When I got back from serving that time, I decided, how do I want to continue my mission? What is my mission? And it took me a while to figure that out, but finally I decided it was scaling service. How can I do more myself, but then how can I also scale that and to exceed just my own capabilities to make a larger impact in our community. Doing so, I volunteered a lot, many different ways, anything from equine therapy, helping kids with different abilities learn new skills and gain confidence, to working in youth education with junior achievement, working in their in-house facility with BizTown and Finance Park, and then also with Food Finders. Anyways, I spent a lot of time building programs and community connections, connecting corporations with their community and different nonprofit agencies. So I have the network. I've been doing this work in the community for years already. I just really would love to continue it in a more official capacity and serve you, our community members. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. I'm Travis Dow. I'm running for county commissioner because Tippecanoe County deserves a leadership that listens, that acts, and treats this position full-time. This is not a part-time job. It requires being present, engaged, and accountable every day. I think for a long time we haven't had that in the commissioner's spot. I spent my career in public safety working for the Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Office. I was a law enforcement officer, a sergeant, and a lieutenant. I did run the detective division. During that time, I was a leader in very complex investigations. I worked alongside community partners on several different teams throughout the county. Early in my campaign, I've been pushing for the EMS services in our county to get better. We don't have a lot of ambulances. There's a lot of times ambulances are running short in this county. Since then, others have joined that conversation, but leadership is about identifying the issues early and acting on them, not following once they gain attention. I've seen firsthand how our employees at the county and citizens have brought up issues that we face to the commissioners, and they don't get acted on. Now, that has to change. We need leadership that values transparency, strengthens our public safety, protects our natural resources, and involves the community early on in decisions, not after they've already been made. Because of my experience, I'm asking you to vote for me, for my record, and my commitment to serve the community. I think together we can move to make Tippecanoe County a lot better place. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move right into our first question, which involves some of our tax revenue being cut. So SB 1 out of the State House It flattens property tax, and at the same time, federal and state grants to Tippecanoe County are also being cut. So what impacts do you see this having on Tippecanoe County, and how would you propose to address them?
Okay, me
Right there.
first?
Yep.
Okay, so actually I spent some time researching this and I haven't gone all the way through it. So I know that SB1 is going to make people who have less expensive houses pay more get a slight tax break. But what's going to happen is people that have very expensive houses are going to get a huge tax break, and that is going to leave a huge gap in our funds, especially at the county level. So in anything the county oversees, like the sheriff's department, the schools, because they will also have that same thing happen. And of course, the same tax rate will be applied after that assessed value rate is calculated, but the assessed value rate adjustment is going to leave a huge gap. Now, I haven't gone down and looked at how some of the other things. Ag land will stay about the same. It really won't be touched. But one of the things we have to do is find a way we can bring in new assessed values, and that's going to be things like solar farms. Now, I'm totally against data centers, so I will not go there. I'm totally against them for the huge resources they suck up, and I don't think that that data centers popping up all over the place are a solution. So
Thank you,
I
thank
would,
you.
okay.
Sorry,
No problem.
just trying to keep it exactly about a minute.
So specifically dealing with the tax revenue shortfalls from SB1, that's going to be hitting operational budgets more so than anything. The big thing that the county needs to do to deal with that is, honestly, I think the county doesn't really know all that well what it needs to do. There's a lot of things that are not being tracked today that I think should be tracked in order to make decent decisions, but those things are not being tracked today, so there's a lot of work to get to the point to figure out what really needs to be done to be able to deal with the tax revenue shortfalls in operations. A lot of that, again, deals with the misuse of technology. Most of the leadership at in the county government level are not IT people. They don't know the right questions to ask, and because of that, they have set up a system in which inappropriate information gets gathered and nobody can make data-driven decisions on how money gets spent, how effective it is, and what it is actually doing for the county.
Thanks.
Yeah, so there actually are going to be a lot of changes with this SB1 property taxes that people aren't really ready for. That's why I've actually spent the last week and a half or so building a dashboard that is going to show what it's going to happen to our county budgets and projections over the next several years, and then based on county, and then also using Ball State's study on solar, and the current decisions or opinions had by the commissioners on utility scale solar, and some of the misinformation that's there. So in this dashboard that I created, it shows that just the one project that's lined up could have covered half of the discrepancy.
Rainbow trout.
Yeah, sorry, is this still on? Oh, okay, sorry. And anyways, as Justin was saying earlier, our county, our commissioners, they don't have the IT knowledge or experience. I worked at a tech company in Chicago before coming back. I know technology, I know data. I managed multi-million-dollar accounts and corporate supply chain through a pandemic, delivering life-saving properties through natural disasters and many other things. So agreed, there's a lot of efficiencies to be found.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, if that
I
mic
think
isn't
it's
working, I
dead.
just pass
Yeah.
this one down
Yeah.
here. I'll just shout very loudly.
I can shout very loudly. I've asked about SB1 to several of our commissioners, and no one can give us the exact amount of how much we're gonna get cut. But I will say this, the one thing we cannot do is cut essential services. We have to make sure our essential services are here for you citizens and for everybody in the community. We rely on public safety. That's the first thing that we cannot cut. You know, if there are cuts, then we need to go down and decide what we need and what we don't need, but I think essential services, where there's fire protection, police protection, our roads, our infrastructure, our bridges, those things have to come first. We cannot cut on those sort of issues that would come up. That's pretty much all I have for it. I just think those are stuff that we have to have and we can't cut it. We also, since I do have time, we also have $9 million approximately setting in a lit fund, local income tax that's not being used. That's just saving money. So it'd be nice to use that if we need to.
Thank you. So we'll start with Justin on this next one. And these series of questions are going to cover growth and zoning in the county. So how would you characterize the county's policies towards growth, and how would you manage the county's growth in the future?
So I think that we do a lot of growing for the sake of growth. People really like to see economic development, but they don't really seem to want to put in the work to make sure that all the other things are provided. I would like to see more looking at, how EMS coverage is affected by developments, fire, those sorts of things, how grocery access, access to city bus, all of those little ancillary things that people need in addition to the growth that comes in here, make sure that stuff is accounted for and not wait until 2/3 of the way through the process for a bunch of people to come and complain. Additionally, we're not building enough housing to go along with the commercial developments that are coming in. A lot of the projects get proposed in the first place as a small proportion of the jobs coming in, and then they get cut as part of the process, and that means that vacancy rates in houses are far too low, and that makes prices skyrocket for the residents of the county.
Thank you.
When it comes to growth, I think growth is very important, and we want to continue growing. We don't want to shrink, but we want to grow in a sustainable way. We want to grow in a way that is going to continue to support the current citizens that live here and their desire to grow their lives here and their families here and their businesses here. Growth is going to happen in this area. I mean, we've got $4 billion investment on the West Lafayette that's coming this way. There's going to be more. We don't need to incentivize, we don't need to give hundreds of millions of dollars of tax abatements to lure companies in. We have the environment. We have the pro-business environment. We have the best citizens in the state. We have an amazing workforce, and we need to make sure that we focus on transportation for all the people here, and then force public schools to provide public housing options and not put all the strain on the cities.
Thank you.
Growth for growth's sake is something that we can't just do. We have to have our infrastructure match the growth that we are going to implement into this county. And I said at a Greater Commerce meeting where Lafayette came up and said, we're doing this, and this to get our infrastructure in place for the growth we're getting for some factories. One of our county commissioners' speech was, we're just rezoning like crazy. As a law enforcement officer, I'm sitting there going, wow, you're going to put 400 houses on the south end and we're not adding any extra police officers? We're not adding any extra fire protection? We are growing outside, we're growing out so big that the county's not keeping up. We're not keeping up with pay, we're not keeping up with the services that people need, and to me, that's where it comes back to the public safety. We have to grow responsibly and we have to grow smart. And our schools are even suffering from the growth, because my wife works in a school, and I'm telling you, the schools are getting overcrowded. Thank you. I was watching.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to make a little aside that my husband still works at Purdue, and he was in a meeting where they were talking about the PRF investment in SK Hynix. I'm not going to bring that up here to debate whether or not it should be there, but he asked a question, what has anybody thought about what that's going to do if we're getting all these new employees, and they're probably coming from other places? What's that going to do to our schools? Who is going to pay for our schools to expand, and we have no plans for that. And they basically shut him down, and we're like, how dare you, you challenge them with a question like that. And that is a huge concern, because I also worked as a teacher, and I know that Klondike School and that Harrison School, well, Klondike especially, since it already got a lot of new people. But yeah, that's a huge concern. What I would do, and I've done this overseas, is we need to decide together as a community how we want to grow. There's no such thing as a business mindset or business development. It's what kind of business do we want, and how much of that is going to go to new jobs will go to Hoosiers,
Thank you.
people who live here.
Thank you.
And this, you're going to take the first.
Tippecanoe County has a moratorium on windmills, has called industrial solar farms into question, and the process to zone SK Hynix has spurred controversy, to say the least. Is the Area Planning Commission meeting our county's needs?
Yes, I think they are. I don't think that their opinions are always being heard by others in leadership, but they have the resources. They put together they have the leadership. They put together the committees. They put together the data and the facts, and then they present them. And others in leadership are making decisions that are steering our community in specific ways. There's a lot of different things to unpack there, but I think there's no connection between SK Hynix, a chip packaging facility, and solar farms. There's no correlation other than they're a new technology. And I think that it's very important to realize that. I think that solar ordinance is there. It needs to be backed by data, and it needs to be backed by studies and use cases and studies that have been done in other places. And I have all that information. It'll be available at the ordinance hearing tomorrow.
Thank you.
The question is, area plan doing what they should be doing? I don't think so, because I think you are the voters. And it really, the people I've talked to on the campaign trail, talking to people, they are so upset because when something comes into their neighborhood, the decision's already made. They're consulted after a decision is made. And I think that has to stop. It's good to have the technology and all the infrastructure, and we're going to keep growing, but it all comes back down to the citizens of Tippecanoe County. And if the citizens are against something, I can't understand why we're not listening to them. And I think Area Plan has not been doing that. From the people I've talked to, from the city to the county, they're saying, yeah, we were told about this, and everybody in the room voted against it, and then they all voted for it. You have to have input. You are the one who puts, we work for you. And I think the commissioners have forgot that.
Thanks.
And because we work for you, we should never be doing a thing like, we want to do this, this is what we think. And I'm not saying any of my colleagues have done that, but I'm just telling you this is what I believe. We need to ask the community first, and that's why I think it's so important to have a new comprehensive plan. Apparently, and I looked this up as well as heard from Area Plan Commission people, the last comprehensive plan was done in the 1980s, before internet. And it's been piecemeal updated, but there have been no new comprehensive plan, and it's time for a new comprehensive plan. Perhaps in that case, we could have sensible solar that takes into consideration truths, real, what's going on in reality with how you manage solar so you don't destroy the farmland underneath it, and what people just think or heard from somebody. Not to mention the need to replenish the coffers after SB1 takes shape. Then at that point, we'll really need those kinds of things, because they provide so much more income for the farmers as well as taxes on the equipment.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think the APC staff is doing a good job of pointing out issues and things that end up going to the full committee to make decisions. I think the voting members themselves either seem to not care what anybody thinks, or they're not paying enough attention to the job to make people aware of things before it gets too far in the process. I think a lot of this comes down, again, to process and making sure that the public knows what the overall process is for evaluating these sorts of developments, and when they need to get involved and where they need to get involved to be able to know when these things are happening, so that we can have responsible development that comes in, or responsible zoning for all these developments that come in, instead of having 100 people show up 9 months into the process, all wanting to know what happened to this in the first place. So a lot of this comes down to process and actually listening to the citizens of the county.
Thank you. This is a pretty hot button issue. We've seen a lot of it in the news recently. What is your general view of data centers and their immense resource requirements, such as water, power, and space?
Well, we're already running an issue with water with the LEAP project that came up. Hopefully that's going to stop, but we have to protect our county resources. We can't just give them away. We can't just have something come in that's going to put a strain on everybody. I'm not really for data centers, just from what I've read and what I've seen other counties experience. I think you have to have a lot of power to do those. You're going to use a lot of water resources. So, I mean, it may be hot button, but I'm not for it.
Well, some well-placed solar farms could have given us energy that we could give to data centers if we wanted them. Personally, I am not for data centers at all. I think we ought to. I understand that AI has made a lot of things possible that weren't possible before. I believe that we need to rethink how we use data and how much we're going to charge for it. Because right now we're spending an inordinate amount of resources of energy just generating avatars and things, besides all the other stuff that we want to have. So I really think we need to consider climate change impacts. That's a huge elephant in the room here. Climate change impacts, and we are going to give all this water and all this energy to data centers, not to mention what kind of a footprint they have on the land. How is the water going to be absorbed then? And where is that water going to go? And that is a drainage consideration. But yeah, I would say put brakes on them and make a realistic plan for data centers where we want them.
I'm going to make a small distinction here, because there are already data centers in our area. Purdue has data centers. Wintech on the other side of the river has data centers. This really all comes down to when these developments start needing gigantic amounts of power and water, and anything to do with that needs an immense amount of scrutiny, overwhelming public support, and a bunch of mechanisms in place for enforcement, that if anything ever it doesn't get delivered the way they said they're going to deliver it, that we take it away from them. Obviously, after things are built, it gets a little bit more difficult to do some of that stuff, but anything that affects our natural resources and our ability to be able to can continue to live as people and have those things to live, needs far more scrutiny than I think is getting today.
So data centers obviously fuel AI. We're all going to use it. It's technology. It's growing. It's a tool. I don't use it for entertainment or anything like that. But to not use it in a professional case, like you're going to see this split, and it's going to be hard. Anyways, that to be said, we don't need a data center in Tippecanoe County. It could provide some quick cash. I don't think we need that. I think our long-term sustainability and resources are much, much more valuable. And like Justin mentioned, yes, there are already data centers here like Wintech, and the current ordinance that's being kind of written and amended. Currently they're talking about square footage being a cap. When I think it's more important that we focus on the resources it's going to be consuming. So again, just another difference And as my personal life, I'm an entrepreneur that's focused on corporate social responsibility. So when it comes to international standards on social and environmental, I already have the information to help.
Thank you. Back down here.
Okay.
All right. This is about employment and talent within the county. How can Tippecanoe County build and maintain a professional workforce that meets the needs and expectations for all residents of the county, given the pressures of these coming budget constraints?
Okay. Once again, I think it's time for us to look to a plan. And I know I've gone over this time and time again, but we'll only know what kind of workforce we need when we understand how we want to grow. And piecemeal development of, businesses, as my colleagues have talked about, springing up all over the place and we don't know they're coming, it's impossible to plan. Not only that, but working in high school, I see things that are really good, like the Greater Lafayette Career Academy helps kids to be able to learn trades, as well as to get some education in things like nursing that they will have to eventually go to school for. But I don't think they're doing a good job predicting the future of work. They're looking at basically what are the work needs right now without really understanding what we might need to prepare kids for. And more than anything, that is thinking, to be able to think critically. Because I have a brother who has a degree in medieval history and is a data analyst, senior data analyst at Amazon now. And there's a lot of things that we can prepare workforce for just by ensuring that they're able to get the good education.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, could I get a clarification on the question? Are we
Sure.
talking about building a workforce for county government due to their budget cuts?
I am
Or
talking
just a
county government in particular.
County
So
government in particular.
I
Oh.
apologize.
Okay.
Where do we need to find ways to streamline the things that county government is doing today so that we can pay people appropriately. We have to employ more people if we pay them worse because we have lower quality talent. We need to be able to pay people, we need to find whatever operational efficiencies we can to be able to pay people appropriately so we have good staff. So we need less staff overall to be able to run the things that we need to run. I don't really see it as being all that difficult to do. We just have to have the will up at the commissioner's level to actually pay people and do the work to find the money.
Yeah, exactly. So I couldn't agree more. Higher wages equals higher talent that you can attract. Not saying that we don't have very, very talented people working currently, because we do, but they're hurting. They need help. They need more support, right? Prices are going up in this area faster than wages are. And I agree. The only way we're going to find our way out of this kind of shoot the gap type of deal is by a more efficient tech stack. So if we can have software throughout the government that actually talks with each other, so it can remove the barriers for the employees to work more efficiently. They'll be able to get more work done. So they can get paid a little bit more, but accomplish a lot more. And when people accomplish more, they feel better about themselves and the work that they're doing and the impact that they're making on their community.
When I moved up here in 1991, Tippecanoe County was one of the second highest paid counties for law enforcement and county government. We are not even close to that nowadays. When I applied, there was over 140 people that took the test for one job. Now we're lucky if we can get 10 people to show up for testing. We have to make it to where our county employees get better pay. Some of our correction officers and some of our dispatchers, our county highway truck drivers, make less than what you would make working overtime at a gas station. That is not acceptable for Tippecanoe County. Our employees deserve to live and be able to live and work in the county that they serve and they support. If not, you're going to lose touch with your citizens. So I really think that's something that we have to fix. Thank you.
Can I answer the real question? I would answer very quickly.
I will leave this if you are all okay with that.
And then they could answer about
Should be, yes.
education if they want
So
to.
we'll keep it really, really
I'll say your
quick,
name
just
and
to-
then you have to rebut. There you go.
Okay. No, just very quickly, besides money, a big deal, especially I've heard of local government from the people who work there, silos is a huge problem. People never go and work with each other across the aisle because the culture at local government is not amenable to that. The commissioners don't leave their office. The commissioners don't go out and speak to people in different departments. And they don't create that culture of collaboration, as well as they're quite often extremely disrespectful to their employees. And you heard that probably, Travis, about the deputy who got up and was talking about the need to pay people better. And then one of the commissioners said, ask whether you want a job. So that's very disrespectful.
I think it goes to Justin.
Oh, sorry, just.
Yeah. All right, these next set of questions are going to tackle ICE and immigration. What is your stance on the county's level of cooperation with federal immigration authorities, specifically regarding the use of county resources for immigration enforcement?
I think it's not the county's job to enforce immigration policy, and people should not be getting held in a county jail past the time that they are supposed to, just because ICE feels like they want to get them someday. I don't know that there's anything more to say than that, other than that's a violation of people's constitutional rights. You should not be locked up longer than what your sentence is. If ICE also thinks that they need to get you, but they cannot provide a judicial warrant in order to hold you, then you should not be getting held in jail for no reason.
Sure. Okay. So, well, from the sheriff's mouth, because I asked him about this, they've been cooperating with ICE for more than since before the Minnesota killings, right? So they've been cooperating with them. I don't know in all manners what that means, but I do know that, people being held, I don't know with or without warrants. I don't know all the details, but I know there is current participation and active support for ICE at the sheriff's office. I don't think that we need to help them do their jobs. If they want to do that, we're not going to make it any easier for them. I think that's my stance on it.
Going back to the commissioner job, this is not a commissioner's job. That is the sheriff. The person you elect as sheriff will decide how he's going to cooperate with ICE or what he's going to do. I think currently the sheriff follows the law. I'm sorry, I may disagree. If it's a violent person, they need to be removed from our community. And I do know there has been some very violent people removed from our community.
Okay, I also know, and I can't quote the stats on this because I just don't remember, but that the percentage of people who are actual criminals among those who are here without appropriate documentation is very low indeed, and that's a big concern. I also know that previous presidents have deported many more illegal aliens, people who were actually here without permission to be so, and were not part of a process already. Because we are putting those people in prison now who are already part of the process and have done their best to do things in a legal manner, but just because they haven't managed to have that those processes complete by the time before they're put in jail, they are thrown in jail and deported, not to mention U.S. citizens who are. So that concerns me. The commissioner does have influence over the sheriff's office, mainly in budgetary influence, but also training. Influence over deciding what kind of training that sheriff's department people need, and that would really play a big role. Oh, we're done, right?
Yep.
With
Just
that.
pass that down.
Mhm.
Can I rebut that?
Yeah,
Since I work at the sheriff's department?
I know, okay.
30 seconds.
Yeah, just real quick. The sheriff runs the sheriff's office. There is no one that's going to tell the sheriff what to do. He is elected by the people. So you could say all you want, you could try to withhold money, but the bottom line is The sheriff is going to make the decision on what happens with his office. He's elected, just like any other elected official.
Okay. Just to correct that, not what you said, but my intent was not that the sheriff won't do what, he will do what he's allowed to by law, but just that the commissioners do have some influence, though of course the sheriff runs the sheriff's department.
Given that Indiana law now mandates local cooperation with ICE detainers, how will you ensure due process and balance these state requirements with the need to protect constitutional rights of residents and minimize the county's exposure to wrongful detention lawsuits?
Was this?
That's to you.
Okay. I'm not really sure what all the commissioner has to do with
Yeah.
all that.
I don't.
That
I don't
sounds
think
very
anything
much
to do
like
with-
a city attorney and a sheriff.
Constitutional
But
law, state.
I will say that whenever possible, I will always support, the Constitution and our civil liberties, our human rights. And so if there is reports of, issues or negligence or any of these things, abuse or violation of human rights, I think that anyone, no matter what position they are in, should push for some type of accountability. Whatever lever they have to flip, they should try to do that. As I would get more familiar with that specific instance and the tools of the office, I could probably give you a better answer, but that's what I got now.
Yeah, we take an oath to support the Constitution, both of the federal government and Indiana. We have to follow laws. I think our sheriff's department, from what I've retired, but I still work there in a civilian job, but our sheriff's department works pretty well with federal officials. And I can tell you, it was a tragedy what happened in Minneapolis, but had that been something here, I think our sheriff's department and our city police officers, to be honest, would have probably been involved, and those probably would not have happened. They would have been there as support, and things would have been a lot different. So that's kind of what I think, because our community does work well. We don't go out and enforce federal laws. We don't go out and enforce any ATF or federal laws. If we get a situation where someone has violated, they get notified, and then they have to take over. So that's how we work.
Yeah, I'm really not sure how to answer this, quite frankly, because I'm not sure what ICE and detention centers have to do with the commissioner's job. To the extent that the commissioner has influence, if I were a commissioner, I would stand against it and even resign if I felt that I was put in a situation even appearing to uphold unconstitutional treatment of people who were put in detention centers, or even creating expanded detention centers, for example, because I feel like they are acting as a Gestapo right now, quite frankly.
Yeah, I guess I'll echo that too, that I don't think the commissioners have any particular involvement in immigration enforcement. I guess I would leave it to say that I don't believe in people's constitutional rights being violated, no matter who they are. And I guess I would try to uphold that in any way that I could if that became an issue that came before me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I forget who's next. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Should the county establish and operate a juvenile detention center?
I'm on the fence about it, to be honest with you, and I'll tell you why, because I've done some research on it. We spend a little over $1 million a year sending juveniles outside the county. Estimates, this is just estimates, I think it's going to cost us close to $30 million to build a facility. That's a 24-bed facility. The idea is to keep half of them for our people, half of them for out-of-county people to make money off of it. But I could also tell you, being in law enforcement, I'll give it a year before it's filled up with just our juveniles. Also, I heard operating budget is close to $6 million. We're facing shortcuts with our budget. I just don't see at this point that it's a fiscally responsible thing to do. Do we need one? Yeah, it'd be great, being in law enforcement, to just drop them off here in the county and not have to transport them. But I think we have to look at it fiscally responsibly.
Yeah, I can't say I actually know very much about this initiative. All I would say is that I'm on the side of seeking to solve problems before they're created, and to the extent that a commissioner has influence on that, I would seek to put more money in initiatives that help juveniles in their root causes that lead them to have to be put into, or the perception that they need to be in a juvenile detention center. I believe they're creating more criminals by putting them in juvenile detention centers. Really, they're putting a Band-Aid on the problem, and then they're just going to be passed on to adult centers, to jails as they get older.
I guess I don't know a ton on the topic of the juvenile detention center or what it purports to provide, but given that Travis has been there for 30 years and says he doesn't feel like it's fiscally responsible, I'm going to say that I would trust him, and I would rather use the money that's sitting there in the public safety lit fund for a future juvenile detention center to fix the emergency ambulance services in this county and break the Franciscan monopoly that is being completely mismanaged today. I think that's money much better spent.
Okay, well, unlike everyone else up here, I do have experience in this. Over the last several years, I've been part of the JDAI, which is the Junior Detention Alternative Initiative, trying to find ways to keep kids from going to jail or detention facilities or juvenile, however you'd like to talk about it or label it. What are the other options that we could do in this community? And so I've been in those meetings. I've talked with the judges. I've talked with the sheriff representatives, teachers, nonprofit leaders, the people that are dealing with these issues at the source, not at the prison level. What I say, I've said multiple times in these meetings, but people with resources don't commit crimes. If you have money, you don't need to steal food, right? And so I think that employment and education and bringing living wages up is the more important investment.
Thank you. I have a bunch more questions, but we are getting close to time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get questions from all of you. I want to make sure that there's enough time for that. So if Lisa, you can randomly pull out a name.
I have one name.
You have what? Just one name?
It's Lisa.
That basket looks bigger than one name.
It's Lisa, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does anybody want to put their name in to ask a question? Otherwise, I'm going to pull this.
Go for it.
All right. Joshua Stack. I guess you know who you are.
I think I can talk loud enough.
Great.
If you want to stay in, that might be helpful.
That'd be fine. I believe you all answered the questions about the data centers pretty well. Kind of touched on some ICE topics. I think that a county commissioner would have the option, if it ever came up, to either fight against, deny the ability for the federal government to set up a concentration camp locally here in Tippecanoe County. And we've also seen another city creatively cut off the water to a proposed site, which I think is awesome, as opposed to passing a resolution, actually taking action against that injustice. So as a county commissioner, what action would you be willing to take against setting up an ICE detention facility here?
Sure, I'll take that first. I'm very anti, center, immigration center, or work camp, or whatever label you want to put on that. I'm not for it. I think that as a commissioner, there are ordinances like we've talked about for data centers or for solar. There can be an ordinance for that, and you can put any stipulations you want in an ordinance. So if you want to say that Well, the ordinance says that no facility can be within 100 miles of Tippecanoe County, or of the center of Lafayette. Well, that covers all of Tippecanoe County, so it can't be done. There are always creative ways that could be used and exercised. I think that there's no problem or opportunity that only has one solution. I think that there are many opportunities, so when we get there, we'll have better answers.
Let's go that way.
So Brazil, Indiana has a ICE detention center. It's attached right outside their sheriff's department. My understanding, when they built theirs, it was approved by the county commissioners, it was approved by the sheriff, it was approved by the council. So you have to approve it. I don't see that being something that's gonna happen here. I can tell you, I would say no. I think there's plenty of them in Indiana that we would need it in our community, and to be honest with you, I don't know where you would build it. Because we probably need to build a new jail before too long. And that's gonna be a big thing we're gonna probably have to undertake in the next probably 5 to 10 years that we've not even talked about yet.
Yeah, when I was talking before about county commissioners approving certain things about the sheriff's department and about policing at the county level, that's one thing they do have to approve, are those kinds of expenditures. When it comes to buildings, I'm not sure how that works, but the extent to which, if I were commissioner, I would definitely not want to approve it. I would think that that would be something, once again, that could be addressed in a new comprehensive plan. I know that it addresses not only addresses lots of different zoning things, and not only where do we want to put new businesses, for example. So to the extent that a comprehensive plan could say, in this county, we do not want one, I would try and get people's input on how they feel about that.
Thank you.
I think that I would be willing to take any legal action that is within my power as a commissioner to make sure that ICE does not create a facility here until such point in time where ICE is known to actually be acting responsibly and deporting actual criminal aliens, violent criminal aliens, and not just scooping up people off of the street because they feel like it.
Yes. I'm trying to get 2 more in here before time's up, and everyone has the closing statement. So what do we got?
I got another card.
Great.
That Magic you should have. It's John Eagle.
Sure. The current commissioners are very much anti-renewable energy. They've done absolutely nothing in terms of putting solar on county properties or buildings. So they're gonna, would you be willing to revisit the ban on wind energy and the upcoming ban on solar energy and do something about responding?
I absolutely, a top priority. And once again, I would like to know how other people, how the constituents would feel about that as well. But thinking that we would have the constituents' consent to move forward with this, and not just a not in my backyard situation, then I would be absolutely willing, because the current amendment was not informed by science or rational or facts. It was informed by people's fears. People was able to include in that things about the heat that would come from it, and some heat will come from it, but if you manage it correctly, it won't happen. If you don't spray Roundup on the ground to kill all the vegetation, things can be done to make sure that the soil is actually enriched and not degraded, and that it becomes less of a heat island. Also, so I'm getting into little details here, but yes, absolutely, wind and solar, I would look at revisiting those with facts and not with fears. But again, from the constituents.
Thanks.
I mean, yes, I would certainly be willing to revisit those things and see if we can come to a better solution than the solution that there is today. I understand that there are people butted up against these properties that have a lot of fears of what's going to be there and make sure that's cleaned up and all of those sorts of things. I think if we had done the due diligence in the first place to present facts as part of this whole process in the first place, there are probably a lot of people out there who are against it today, that probably, if we got past their preconceived notions and maybe biases that they have, that maybe there are some advantages here that they didn't consider as part of this. So I would see that as an ongoing conversation.
Yes, absolutely. I would revisit them. I currently attend the ordinance hearings on solar. I've spoke at all of them. I've written a letter to the editor of the JNC and pro solar, talking about using facts and data and not personal opinions, and talking about the opportunities that it really would give us. And I think with any type of investment, it's not what it costs, it's what you get back, right? So yes, something might be expensive, but if you get more than you put in, that seems like a good deal, right? Energy is at all-time premium, and it's just going to keep going up and up and up. So we need all the resources that we can to help tackle this issue. And I think that alternatives like wind and solar are options. I think we should look at all possibilities. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I believe you guys are the boss. You guys are the ones who are going to elect the next commissioner. You're the boss. If there's people interested in something in the county, we should sit down and listen and at least take a good hard look at anything that comes up. Whether we like it or not, that's what we should do. I am personally not against renewable energy. I think it's a resource. I think it's something that could be beneficial to the county. I do have some concerns with how's it going to be cleaned up. If 10 years down the road we have nuclear and that's what we've gone to, are we going to have empty fields of windmills or solar panels that don't get cleaned up? And I think the county, that's one of the, provisions that had come up. But like I said, you guys are the voters, and we should look at anything that you guys would be interested in. Thank you.
Lisa, that's all? All right.
We got 2 minutes. So.
We got 2 minutes, so that's great. What we're gonna do is do final closing comments. I'll say something at the end, and yeah. 30 seconds.
Okay, because in the first, the introduction, I thought you wanted to know about us, so I didn't talk about my priorities. And I think the biggest starting point for my priorities is going to be the systems that are in place. The systems that are in place do not work. Not only the commissioner's webpage and the way that they hold meetings where people feel intimidated to go and ask commissioners things. I would invite people to come and sit. I would sit with people to the extent possible. And I would also look at the processes where you do a process mapping like ISO to see where we are failing in our processes.
I guess I'll just close by saying again, there are a lot of issues in county government that really all come down to not caring about what the residents of the county think about whatever that thing is. So work doesn't get put in. The process goes on the way that it goes on, and then everybody acts surprised when 75 people show up at a public meeting saying, why didn't you let us know about any of this in the first place? And in many different areas, this is the case. And I think that has to be the first step to fixing county government, is making sure that those processes are in place to get people involved.
Yes, again, my name's A.R. Lane. I'm running for this position because after years of volunteering, connecting corporations with their communities to help improve positive impacts, I've worked for years at the director level at a nonprofit here in town, again, connecting people with the vital resources they need within this community. I'm a veteran. I know leadership. I know technology. I'm here to represent. I'm here to make this place better than when I started. So thank you.
This race comes down to leadership and people who really know this county. I've been 30 years plus working in this county. I've been from Buck Creek to Clarksville to Romney to Odell, back up here to Lafayette, West Lafayette. I have been around the county. I know the citizens of Tippecanoe County, and we have a vast, different group of citizens here, but we represent them all. I'm ready to lead, I'm ready to listen, and I'm ready to get to work for Tippecanoe County, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
In the scenario, we had 2 mics. I want to thank you all for coming out, spending an hour of your time getting to know these candidates. I want to thank the candidates for all of their time. I really hope that this was beneficial to everyone. I want to just state as well, we invited all the candidates. These are the ones that showed up. We did invite everyone. Take that into consideration, if you will. And like I said, I'm sure that these candidates will stick around if you answer any of the questions that they didn't get to. And we hope you have a good night and come back to one of these if we do them. Thank you.